Welcome back to the Godot Learning Professional Community, and I'm going to now teach you about preparing to teach a new skill. This is webinar 5B, and we've so far learned about backwards planning. So backwards planning, once again, is when you plan the assessment first, then you plan only the lessons that will continue to contribute to student success on that assessment. Step 1. Identifying what students should know and be able to do by the end of the learning cycle. I took a couple of our standards from the middle school beginning course, Performance Standard 2, Develop and Refine Musical Techniques and Works for Presentation. And my focus is going to be A, B, C, D, and F. Most of it is about demonstrating posture, vocal anatomy, vocal range and tone for students, knowing how to identify aspects of that, identifying aspects of vocal change as reflected in physiological changes affecting the range and tone, and of course, using their oral skills to match pitch and improve intonation. So let's break those down. As I said in your previous webinar, you have to figure out what are your goals for your literature, or what are your goals for that particular musical element that you're wanting to teach. What do you want the students to know, understand, and do? And establish essential questions, maybe a vocabulary list, musical elements, and don't forget, do you want the students to be able to perform, create, connect, or respond? So, don't forget to look at our previous webinars where I've broken down those standards in the perform, create, respond, and connect elements. So don't forget to check that out. Now let's look at step 2. Create an assessment to measure that learning. So on the Georgia Department of Education, there are so many units and lessons available, so many that we can share. I just looked at the very first curriculum map for beginning course. If you go, you'll see Unit 1. Unit 1 is all about introducing choral techniques. It's all about Lesson 1, the introduction to choral singing and vocal health. There's a PowerPoint. There's a solfege of the major scale that's teaching pitch. There's a visual handout for students. There is a chart for students. There's a rhythm chart for compositions. There's even things on tempo, mode, mood, journal entry, rubrics, vocabulary for Unit 1. So check that out on the Department of Education website. So once again, we're looking at these standards. These are some performance assessment examples. You can show your students a picture and have them decide to demonstrate those couple of things. You can decide that you want them to sing about posture if they're your beginnings. You can decide that you want them to label certain parts of posture or vocal anatomy. You might decide to have them discuss with another person while you check off those key points, or have the other students assess each other. You could even have them demonstrate what posture should be like. So you can take this picture and literally have a performance assessment in 4 different facets. But you have to make that decision for yourself. Again, decide what do you want those students to know, do, and understand, and then make a decision, and then that's when you teach. Don't teach it and then decide how to test. Decide what do you want to assess and then teach that. So we're not exactly teaching to the test, but we kind of are, because we're deciding what we're going to assess. And always remember your rubrics. Whenever you're testing, you want to make sure, especially for performance assessments or writing assignments, set parameters for the students. Let them know how you're going to score them so that they can understand. For example, level 1. That might be a student that doesn't have a clue about the particular information. Level 2 might be a developing learner where they caught a couple of them, grasp a little bit of the material, but not quite exemplary on it. Level 3 and level 4. So you always want to make sure that you establish a rubric that allows you to fairly assess your students, but also give them an ability to improve. So always give them something, and of course a comment section is always needed. So think about the criteria you want to set, think about the way that you want to set the parameters for scoring, and don't forget to give your students feedback, immediate feedback with that being said. Step 3, Plan a sequence of lessons. You will prepare students successfully to complete the assessment. So think about the assessment you want and design those lessons. I'm going back to the Georgia Department of Education website because there are some amazing lessons there. You just click these links and it literally downloads those plans for you. So just make sure that you continue to check out that website. We're always adding lessons to it, and go for it. Use those, revamp them, do what you have to. So let's look at the different techniques that I'm trying to show you. For example, a student's wanting to demonstrate their choral singing posture. I'm going to show you a video that I found for free on youtube.com, and it's going to allow you to see a way that you can teach your beginning singers about posture. Stay tuned.
So this song is the posture song. It's trying to remind you how to sit in your chair while you are singing. So here we go, echo me. Feet, feet, flat on the floor. Back away from the chair. Chest up, chin down. Always sing with care. Now we're going to sing the solfege going from the top note down to the bottom. Here we go with hand signs. Do, ti, la, sol, fa, mi, re, do. We do it 3 times. Do, ti, la, sol, fa, mi, re, do. One more time. Do, ti, la, sol, fa, mi, re, do. Everybody sing. So now let's sing it all together without echoes. Ready, go. Feet, feet, flat on the floor. Back away from the chair. Chest up, chin down. Always sing with care. Do, ti, la, sol, fa, mi, re, do. Do, ti, la, sol, fa, mi, re, do. Do, ti, la, sol, fa, mi, re, do. Everybody sing.
Now, identifying basic vocal anatomy. I'm going to click here, and it's going to show you how students can talk about the anatomy. This is a wonderful website, and it has a vocal anatomy PowerPoint in it. It literally shows you how the diaphragm works, and it even shows you a nice little demonstration on how the students can literally show how the vocal cords work. Take a strip of paper and blow. All you need is a Gatorade bottle, scissors, and tape, and 2 balloons, and you can show students how to make lungs in a bottle. The end product, of course. And you'll see this on my webinar for last year where I showed how you do this. But this is basically how you make a diaphragm. So it's basically showing your students vocal anatomy, but the Choral.net has showed us a way that where students can demonstrate what it looks like. And you can have them explain it. It's another way to assess and teach your students, but it allows you to teach them that vocal anatomy. And now let's talk about vocal range. Check this out. It will record your students as they sing so that they can find your vocal range. Of course, right now my microphone isn't going to be working from my screen, but there's a way that you can just sing, and it allows your students to hear their range. So you'll go to the Find Your Vocal Range, and if my sound was working, of course, we'd be able to do so. Oops, oops, oops. But just make sure you try this website. It'll be included in the link as well. And then identifying aspects of vocal chains as reflected in their wonderful body changes. This is a nice kids-friendly website that allows students to understand their voice change. It even plays it for the students.
The following article is from Kids Health. Your changing voice. Honk. Squeak. What is that? A goose playing the trumpet. If you're going through puberty, say, Piono Bertie. It could be your voice. Both boys and girls experience voice changes as they grow older, but girls' voices get only a little deeper. A boy's voice, on the other hand, may change quite a bit, from sounding like a little kid to sounding like somebody's dad. You're growing larynx. How does this happen? The larynx, say.
And I just wanted you to hear, and it talks about what makes a voice. It talks about what about the Eve's apple, your changing voice, and it's just a way that the boys and the girls can understand. There is a place for teens, for educators, as well as for parents. So check it out. This is kidshealth.org, and it's a wonderful way to explain the changing voice for students. You can assign it virtually, or you can have the students get a Chromebook, or maybe you can print it out and you can read it together. So it's just a nice way to, once again, tackle those standards and help you with the way that you want to assess your students. Again, I'm going to include all of these links so that you are aware of where I got this information. It just continues to show us how to teach our students, how to assess, and how to create those lessons. Again, I want to thank you for tuning in to our webinar 5B. Stay tuned for webinar 5C, where we're talking about getting ready for the spring.